All right, we are back on the record. We have our jurors, counsel, Mr. Jackson, all present. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hope you all had a good weekend. You may recall that on Friday we had finished the state's case and had heard from a couple witnesses on behalf of the defendant. And I believe we have some additional witnesses on behalf of the defendant. Mr. Johnston, are you prepared to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Garner.
All right. Ms. Garner, you want to turn your mic on? Thank you. Ms. Garner, who do you have to call?
Your Honor, we would like to call Garrett Barton.
All right. Good morning, sir. You Mr. Barton? Going to have you come on up here to the chair to my far left, if you would, sir. Then you can go and have a seat when you get there. And Mr. Barton, that is a live mic. You can move it around however you'd like. Probably need to get a little closer to it just so we can make sure it picks you up and everybody hears you. So, Mr. Barton, the first thing I'm going to do, sir, is swear you in. I'd ask that you raise your right hand. Mr. Barton, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving in this matter will be the truth?
I do.
All right. And you can put your hand down, sir. For the record, can you please give us your first and last name and spell them both, please?
My name is Garrett Barton.
Can you spell them both, please?
Garrett Barton.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Barton. Ms. Garner, sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Barton.
Good morning.
Can you tell us how old you are?
I am 19 years old.
And where do you reside currently?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
And are you currently working?
I am.
Where do you work?
I work at Menards
How
on
long
the southwest side.
Sorry. How long have you worked there?
3 years, I believe.
And are you familiar with this gentleman next to me?
I am.
How long have you known Mr. Jackson?
Since 2015. So, 7 years about.
Where did you guys meet?
Scouts in Troop 766.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Scouts in Troop 766.
So you guys met as a scout members?
Yes.
And that was in 2015, you said?
Roughly, yes.
So how old do you think you would have been when you met him?
About 12 or 13.
How often do you think you had contact with Alex?
At least once a week at the scout meetings, up until the Yellowstone trip.
And was that up until the Yellowstone trip, is that what you said?
Yeah.
And did you have any other contact with Alex outside of Scouts?
Very little.
So let me talk about the Yellowstone trip. When did that occur?
It occurred in the summer of 2016, I believe. We went to Yellowstone for, I believe it was 21 days. We were backpacking pretty much most of the whole time.
How many other Scout members were with you?
Don't remember an exact number, but we had two different groups. Our group was the backpacking group, and we had, I want to say, 12 people. I don't remember an exact number.
And then, did Alex play any particular type of role on that trip?
Not that I remember. He did carry a lot of the dromedaries, if I remember correctly, which was what we used to carry water into the Yellowstone Park.
What type of activities did you do other than backpacking while you were on that trip?
On the way there, we stopped at the KOA campsite right outside of Mount Rushmore. We camped there for the night, did some hiking around there, and then on the drive, we didn't really stop anywhere too much. And then on the way back, I think is when we stopped and did some whitewater rafting.
Did you and Alex interact often on that trip?
Yeah, he would bring these Choose Your Own Adventure books, and we do those on the car ride.
What was included in those books?
Just like medieval adventure stuff.
So were you able to earn any badges, or you and Alex able to earn any badges on that trip?
From what I remember, we were able to work towards different hiking badges. Trying to think. We were able to work towards the hiking badges and some requirements for other ranks we were trying to meet in the Scout program.
Would you say that you and Alex were on the same path, badge-wise, to becoming an Eagle Scout?
He was a little farther along than I was, but we definitely were. At that point, it looked like we were going to get Eagle, yes.
Did you guys start Scouts at the same time?
He started a little before me. I don't know an exact point in time, but I was in a different age group than Alex.
And were you involved in a home restoration project that Alex led?
Yes, I was.
And can you tell me what that involved?
Mainly what I did on his Eagle project was we went around and restored this historic house, and I ended up painting most of the trim along the top of the walls in each of the rooms.
And was that Alex's project that everyone helped him on?
Yes.
Did you ever meet Alex's parents?
I've met his mother a few times. She would always help out at the Scout meetings. She always helped with cleaning up afterwards. His father I only met once, and that was at the Eagle Project. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him, though.
Did you ever see Alex and his mother interact?
A few times at the Scout meetings.
What did you observe about their relationship?
Always kind and respectful. Never really raised his voice at his mom. There were some smart aleck remarks, but I can't pinpoint an exact phrase.
But for the most part, respectful?
Yeah,
Did you ever see him be unruly to his mother?
no,
Ever mean to his mother?
nope,
Did you ever notice him being disrespectful to his father?
no.
And on all these occasions that you were around Alex, did you ever see him act violent towards any other Scout members or anyone?
No.
Any type of, that type of behavior?
No violent behavior. We were competitive at like card games, but nothing like threat-wise or physically hurting anybody.
Were these card games on the Yellowstone trip?
Yellowstone and other Scout meetings, yes.
Did you ever see him get angry with any other Scout members?
No.
So anything that you saw in the competitive nature was purely for fun?
Yes.
I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Scheer, cross-examination?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Pretty good.
My understanding is the last time that you had any contact with Mr. Jackson was back in 2016. Is that correct?
That is incorrect. Right at the end of his scouting career right at the end of my scouting career, we were kind of doing loose communications outside of Scouts. It was just a, hey, how's it going? Good, and that kind of stuff. Nothing like hanging out, but 2018 would be the last time.
Okay, so the last time that you actually had any type of communication by electronic or verbal was around 2018, correct?
Correct.
But it sounds like the last time that you guys physically saw each other was around 2016?
Correct.
And so in 2021, it's safe to say that you hadn't had any contact either by text, phone, email, or anything for almost 3 years with Mr. Jackson, correct?
Correct.
And by then, you don't know how his relationship was with any of his family members, correct?
Correct.
And that you were never been to his home either, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, sir. No other questions.
Any redirect? All right. Mr. Barton, you may step down and are free to go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Going to have you come up and take a seat to my far left, if you would. And you can go ahead and have a seat. And I'm not sure we picked that up for the record. Who's the state's next witness?
This is Jared Wacker, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Wacker, a couple things. First, that microphone's live, so you can move it around to make it suit you as best as you can. Second, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in, so if you please raise your right hand. Mr. Wacker, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving in this matter will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and you can put your hand down. And for the record, sir, can you please give us your first and last name and spell them both?
Jared Wacker. First name is Jared, and my last name is Wacker, Wacker.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Wacker, how are you employed?
I am a band director in the Cedar Rapids School District.
Are you currently at Washington High School?
Yes, I am.
And did you teach band anywhere else before Washington?
Yeah, I was at Kennedy High School for 9 years.
And how long have you been at Washington High School?
I'm in my second year right now.
Okay. What was your position at Kennedy High School?
I was one of 2 band directors there.
And what were your responsibilities as a band director at Kennedy High School?
At Kennedy, I co-directed the marching band, shared that with the other band director there, and helped students prepare for all-state auditions in the fall. And then after marching band ended, we kind of split things up. I directed the Wind Symphony at Kennedy, which was the top audition concert ensemble there, and then also directed the top jazz band.
So wind symphony, is that wind instruments?
Yes, these are band instruments. Yep.
The ones you blow into?
Yes,
right?
well, most of them, yeah. Some of them you hit as well.
So I'm not trying to be too technical there.
No.
During your time at Kennedy, did you become acquainted with Alexander Jackson?
I did.
And when did you first meet Alex?
I met Alex his freshman year, 2015.
Were you his band teacher?
Yes, I was one of them.
And for how long were you Alex's band teacher?
For 4 years.
What instrument did Alex play?
Alex played the flute.
And how was Alex involved in the band program?
Alex, I believe his first year, he opted to not do marching band his freshman year. He played in the freshman concert band. Freshmen have the opportunity to not do marching band that first year. So I believe he opted to do that. And then did one of the concert bands the second half of the year. And then after that, he did marching band for 3 years each fall, and then was in the Wind Symphony with me then after marching band ended.
And the Wind Symphony is the top concert band?
Yes, it is. It's an audition group. You have to audition to be a part of it. And it's usually the higher achieving students that have a little bit more ability or have put in a little bit more time on their instruments.
So those were the courses that you taught then?
Yes.
And is band a full year course?
Yes, students, when they sign up for band, they're registered for 2 semesters of it, so for the full year.
Can you tell us a little bit what the schedule is like for students in marching band?
Yeah, marching band, it's pretty intense, excuse me. It starts before school actually begins in the fall. We have a few weeks of rehearsals in early August where the students will come in 8 o'clock a.m. and they'll be there till about 4:30. And so lots of rehearsal time before school starts. Once school is in session, then we see the students, or we saw the students starting at 7:30 a.m. and it would go through first hour, so 7:30 to 8:45 every day for class time. And then we would also have evening rehearsals Monday nights, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, so 3 hours there once a week. We would play at every home game, so 5 to 7 of those in a season. And for those, again, a big time commitment, we would bring the kids into Kingston Stadium, which is where we play our home football games, to do a rehearsal before the game and then perform at the game. So that's another 4 or 5 hour commitment. And then we would do 4 weeks in a row of contests or festivals. So there would be 4 Saturdays in a row where we would be with the kids pretty much all day, 9 o'clock to about 1 o'clock the next morning.
And but going back to like before school started, were there evening rehearsals during that time too?
Yes, there were. So we would, within like, so the first week we did morning through afternoon, 8 o'clock to like 4:30. And then typically like the second week after that happened, so like the second week in August, we would start doing evening rehearsals. So it would be more like 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. So yes.
Did you say 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock?
Yeah, at night. Yep, sorry.
And was that, how many nights a week would that be?
For that week before school started, I think we did Monday through Thursday was typical.
I got you. That was just the week before school started.
Yeah,
And how was Alex's attendance?
it was good. It was rare if he missed.
And did he actively participate?
Yes, he did.
How would you describe his work ethic?
He was a hard worker, very polite, took suggestions very well.
Okay. Did he seem interested in the program and improving himself as a player?
Yes, he absolutely did. He worked hard at that, and he always seemed to want to do well. So he worked very hard on his instrument.
Now, were you his only music teacher?
I was not. There was another band director there that taught with me at Kennedy, and then we also would bring in other like clinicians or professionals on their instruments just to kind of help us out.
To your knowledge, did Alex have a private teacher as well?
Yes, yes.
Do you know her name?
I believe at the time it was Amy Sams was his private lesson teacher.
How many students were in the Wind Symphony?
So the Wind Symphony, being a select group, we were typically between 40 and 55 kids, depending on the year.
How many flutes?
Our smallest group of flutes would have been 4, and our largest probably 6 or 7.
How did Alex get along with the other flute players?
He got along very well within the section. We had, I think it was his junior year, we had a lot of drama within the flute section, and he actually was a very calming presence within that group.
Did Alex get any, okay, let me strike that. Was Alex ever featured in any of the band performances?
Yeah, because he was one of our higher achieving students his senior year and worked pretty hard. He was one of our featured soloists in our marching band show his senior year.
And did Alex participate in any band trips?
Yes. I believe we went on a trip in 2017 to Florida that I believe he participated in, and then his senior year, I believe it would have been February of 2019, he went on an honor band trip up to UNI.
What is an honor band trip?
So an honor band, it's for, again, students who want more opportunities within band to play their instrument. They can apply to be a part of honor bands around the area. University of Northern Iowa has one, Iowa State has one, College has one. So students, if they want to be a part of an honor band, what they do is they'll apply and they'll put together an application stating like all of the things that they've accomplished on their instrument. They've auditioned for this, or they've done that, or they've made this group. And then they'll give those applications to me, and I'll process them and send them to whoever's putting on or hosting the honor band. And then, like for example, you and I, in this case, took all of those applications they get from band directors around the area, and they'll select the top students out of those applications and put together a group that will get together and perform.
And can you tell me, was that like a Thursday to Saturday trip?
It was. That one is typically, we'll leave school shortly after school ends on a Thursday, and then travel up to the University of Northern Iowa, where they'll have rehearsals that evening. And then we stay in a hotel Thursday night. And then, again, rehearsals all day Friday, and then we stayed in the hotel again Friday night, and then rehearsal Saturday morning, followed by a concert Saturday afternoon.
And how many students did you take on this trip?
It varies from year to year. I believe that year we had quite a few students go, probably around 10.
And what would that entail when you're not playing in the band? What other kinds of things did you do with the students on that trip?
We would take them off campus. I was transportation to and from the university from the hotel, so we would take them out to eat, take them back to the hotel where they could swim and relax. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
And did you have an opportunity there to see Alex interact with his other bandmates?
I did.
And how would you describe his interactions with them?
He was friendly. I never saw any issues whatsoever.
Never saw him get mad at anybody
No.
or get in a fight with anyone?
Nope.
Did Alex try out for All-State Band?
He did. He auditioned for All-State, I believe, 3 years.
And did Alex receive any other awards or recognition for his involvement in the band program?
I know he lettered in band. He earned a band letter at least twice, I want to say 3 times probably, at the end of the school year. Yeah, that's what I can recall.
I have a co-college honor band on here.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, you and I honor band, and I think he did the college honor band as well one time.
So how would you describe Alex's temperament in the time that you were his band teacher?
Again, he was always polite, took suggestions well, which is not always the case with students, but he always did. He was always there on time. He was a hard worker, and I enjoyed my time with him.
I'm sorry, you said what?
I enjoyed my time with him.
Okay. Sometimes I can't. I'm sure it's me.
Probably not.
How did Alex get along with his classmates during the whole time that you taught him band?
Very well.
Did he have a group of friends in the band?
He did. He had his group of buddies that he hung around with and got along well with.
Did he opt up for extra time in the band study hall?
Yeah, so students had the opportunity, because study hall could be kind of not conducive always to studying. We gave the students that were in band the opportunity to come to the band room during study hall. They had to sign a sheet of paper, and their parents had to sign it, and we had to give that to the attendance office. But he opted to be in the band room at least one semester, probably more than that, where he would come down and just be in the band room, and he could study there and practice and just hang out. So
Again, you tailed off
I'm
there
sorry.
at the end.
So yes, he did. He at least one semester he came down to he was in the band room for one of the periods that he had study hall, and he would be there and he would study and practice.
To your knowledge, did Alex ever get into any trouble at school?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you ever see Alex get into any fights in school?
No,
Was Alex ever sent to the principal's office or detention?
not that I'm aware of, no.
Was he ever suspended from school?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And do you know when would have been the last time you spoke with Alex?
Probably his graduation, so late May of 2019.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you.
Ms. Slaughter, cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Wacker, you said that Alex had a private band instructor.
Private, yes, private flute instructor. So students who wanted to be pushed a little bit more on their instrument, they would hire an area teacher on their specific instrument to help them get better. They would meet with them typically once a week, usually for a half hour to an hour, to improve their skills as a player.
On average, in 2019, how much did a private flute instructor cost?
On average, I would say anywhere from 2019, it's before COVID, anywhere between $25 to $40 a half hour. It depends on the teacher. It could be more.
And you said this was prior to COVID. Has it gone up since COVID?
For some teachers, yes.
Out of all of your students, could you fashion a guess as to how many of them were privileged enough to have a private instructor?
At that point in time, quite a few, at least the students that I worked with, probably 30 to 40%.
And that was something generally that the parents would pay for?
Yes.
Did Alex's parents show up at his performances?
Yes, I knew his mom pretty well, saw her at many of the events, yeah.
Would you consider Jan and Melissa as supportive?
Yes,
You said the last time that you saw Alex was in late May of 2019 at the time of his graduation, is that correct?
yep.
Can you recall what type of grades he was getting in your class?
In my class, A's, A pluses.
Do you know what his grades looked like in his other classes?
I do not.
But in your class, A or an A plus? Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And you said that Alex was a hard worker,
Yes,
and he was one of your higher achieving students, right?
yes,
And he played in the honor band and,
yes.
okay. Would you be surprised to find out that his college GPA was a 1.59?
Objection, Your Honor. That calls for hearsay and for speculation.
Overruled, you can answer the question.
I would be.
1.59? Would you be surprised to find out that he was failing the majority of his classes?
Yes, yes, I would be.
And would it be fair to say, Mr. Wacker, that a lot can change in 4 years?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. I don't have any further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Redirect?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down, and I believe you're free to go.
Thank you.
Well, I guess, why don't you check if they're here? We don't need a break. If they're not, then we can talk about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we're going to need to take a break. I'm not sure exactly how long it'll be at this point. So why don't we just assume a 15-minute break, may bring you back in and talk to you more, but we'll just have to figure it out. But at this point, we're on break for at least 15 minutes. I would remind you of the admonition that I've given you previously, and ask that you be back ready to go shortly before 10 o'clock. Did you hear the plan?
Yes. Hey, well,
know you're ready on those. So we just. Yeah.
What was your Eagle Scouts name, by the way? Is that who this is?
Yeah, to the left.
This is him, ain't it? With the dark beard. I've had a chance to look through the photos.
So I guess just informally, some you're agreeing to, some you're not.
I did a couple of those.
And is it?
Yeah.
All right. I'll be right back in and then we can make the
One of
record.
them is a certificate. My
Okay.
objection to that would be hearsay.
Okay.
Oh, that Eagle Scout?
Yeah. Something like that. And I don't think he even said that because he asked me if I had any objection to that.
All right, okay. I went back to that.
Oh, excuse me.
Or these are the ones you are objecting to?
Those are the ones I'm okay with.
Ah, I just want to make sure we were on the same.
Yeah, no, no.
Gotcha. Are you guys ready to make a record?
Yeah. Do you have a copy machine back there, or are you just gonna use my, because I didn't make 2 copies of that sheet.
I will just write them down.
Okay.
What's this? Okay.
Or I can write it P1 through P55.
So this should be 148 then?
No, or actually, yes, 148.
Just to be clear, these all been scanned and uploaded?
They have, it's just they didn't have the right, I don't believe we had the stickers on them.
So, I mean, have any of the defendant's exhibits been?
We're working on that, Judge. We have them to, we left these in the courtroom over the weekend, so they just have to scan those, and those have been scanned in, but Ms. Slaughter,
Ms. Foley was shaking her head no, so I just want to make sure.
well, they were scanned in, but they didn't have the numbers on it. So we're gonna do it again with the numbers on it.
Okay. There's your list. Your exhibits. Okay. So. All right, counsel, you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we're on the record outside the presence of the jury. We have counsel and Mr. Jackson present. Here to make a record on a couple things. First of all, I think the record reflects that at the end of the day, Friday, at some point we had, on the record, dealt with a potential a witness noted by the defendant, Charles Gavin, and there was an objection to calling Mr. Gavin. That resolved itself over the weekend. The defendant no longer is calling Mr. Gavin, so that resolved itself. However, over the weekend, the defendant did identify another witness to call, and Mr. Chris Lyon. And so I guess, as I understand where we're at this point, Mr. Lyon was here. Mr. Lyon is somebody purportedly who has expertise in reviewing Cellbrite data, and will testify, as I understand it, something to the effect of, will testify about the Cellbrite data on Mr. Jackson's telephone, the defendant, Mr. Jackson's telephone, and how it relates to the Ring camera in the backyard. And the state obviously just became aware of that over the weekend, and their expert came over this morning. The two experts and the attorneys met. It's my understanding at this point the defendant still wishes to call Mr. Lyon. Is that correct, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, I mean, there was no offer from the state for any sort of a stipulation, so.
And that's fine. So at this point, I guess, where are we at as far as the state's position on calling Mr. Lyon?
Your Honor, I would like to preserve my earlier objection for the record regarding this witness due to timeliness under 2.13, Parent 3 and Parent 4. The state's position is that the defendant had notice of what our witnesses would testify to, specifically regarding the findings on the phones. And because we weren't given the 9-day notice as required by the rule, we are objecting to this witness. I understood off the record that you were going to overrule my objection, so we did do the meeting that you referenced earlier, and the state is prepared to proceed.
And with respect to the objection, Mr. Johnson, what record would you like to make?
That this was in response to questioning by the state with Investigator Denlinger, where he was allowed to speculate in all sorts of manners outside his area of expertise, one of which was the possibility that my client had accessed the Ring app, either on his phone or his parents' phones. And so we responded to that by getting a hold of Mr. Lyon over the weekend. He had the opportunity then to review the Cellbrite data, and he's prepared to testify today.
All right, based on, I guess, my review of the minutes and having heard the evidence in this case, up to this point, I do believe it was a new issue, certainly the issue of the Cellbrite data, the Ring cameras had been an issue, but as far as the specifics that it's possible that Mr. Jackson did something, I believe that was a new issue introduced by the state, and for those reasons, I believe that it's appropriate to allow the defendant to call Mr. Lyon, so we will allow Mr. Lyon to testify, and then I understand, Mr. Johnson, that you anticipate that is your last witness, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's make a record on that then as well. My understanding, based on informal conversations, is that Mr. Jackson will not be testifying, is that correct?
That is my understanding, Your Honor.
All right, so, and if Mr. Johnson, I'm going to turn it over to you. Have you had a chance to discuss this with Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any record you want to make about your discussions with Mr. Jackson and his testimony?
Did the court want me to conduct the colloquy, or?
I'll do that. I just want to know if there's any record you wish to make.
No, Your Honor.
All right. If you want to pass that microphone down perhaps to Mr. Jackson. Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning.
So, Mr. Jackson, you understand, sir, that you have a right to testify, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And there's a lot of things during the course of a trial that are strategic choices that lawyers get to make on behalf of their clients. This is not one of those choices. So you understand that whether or not you testify is solely your decision, not your lawyer's decision, not my decision, not anybody's decision except yours. Do you understand that?
Correct.
All right. I'm sorry. Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Have you had enough time to talk about your decision to testify or not with Mr. Johnson, Ms. Garner, and/or Ms. Foley?
Yes.
All right. And are you satisfied with the advice that they've given you in connection with your decision to testify or not testify?
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to ask any questions you may have about your decision to testify?
Yes.
All right. And is it your decision then to not testify in this proceeding?
It is my decision not to testify.
All right. And do you believe that you've had, do you believe you have all the information you need from your lawyers to make an informed decision about whether or not to testify?
Yes.
Anybody pressured you in any way to not testify?
No.
Anybody threatened you in any way to not testify?
No.
Is your decision not to testify in these proceedings, is that your own voluntary decision?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Johnson, any further record you believe needs to be made on the matter? Ms. Slaughter or Ms. Shear, any further record either of you believes needs to be made in this matter?
I think the colloquy conducted by the court was sufficient, Your Honor.
All right, so then just so we're clear, we also talked about, I think on the record, my understanding, Mr. Johnston, you may wish to make another motion at the conclusion of your case before rebuttal, but we're not gonna, we'll do that rather than sending the jury out. We've all agreed that you can do that once we've let the jury go, and we'll treat it as if it had been made at the conclusion of the defendant's case. Is that your understanding?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct on the state's end?
It is correct, Your Honor.
All right. So what we're going to do then is we're going to bring the jury back in about 2 minutes. So you said 11 o'clock. I think we're going to be pretty darn close. We need to make a record real quick on exhibits first. So Ms. Slaughter, I guess, why don't you go ahead and make your record with respect to its defendant's exhibits P1 through, what's the last number?
148, Your Honor.
P1 through 148. So Ms. Slaughter?
Your Honor, the state very recently was provided a binder that included several family photographs that were taken from the Jackson home. I did have an opportunity to review those photographs. I do believe that there are some contained within that binder that are relevant, but the vast majority of them I do not believe are relevant to any issue before this court, and am objecting to them. I did provide the court with a list of the ones I am not putting up any resistance to. The rest of them, Your Honor, just to give you an example of one, the day the defendant was born, I think that there is zero relevance to this trial for the majority of the photographs. I think that their only use or purpose would be to inflame the passions of the jury, to attempt to gain sympathy for the defendant. The vast number of photographs that were on the walls in the Jackson home is in no way issue in this case. The mom putting up old family photos on the walls it's irrelevant, and so I am objecting. I don't have the specific numbers of the ones I'm objecting to. I did provide the court a list of the exhibits that I'm not objecting to.
And just to be clear, your objection is relevance, and I think you cited some other things too.
There was one, I'm going to call it a document contained within that binder that was provided to me that appeared to be some sort of a scouting certificate. I don't know exactly what it was right now, Your Honor, but I do believe that that was hearsay and also irrelevant. But relevance is my leading objection. I do think that the photograph's position is for inflaming the passions of the jury. And so, yes, for all of the reasons that I've stated, I'm objecting to the exhibits that were not specifically included on my list.
All right, Mr. Johnston? So just to be clear for the record, we had defendants' exhibits P1 through 148. The list of the ones that I believe the state indicated they are not objecting to are P1, P6 through P9, and I'm just going to skip the P and reference the letter designation, 24, 32, 57, 67, 75 through 77, 81, 84, 90, 92, 100, 101, 103, 111, 112, and 148. Is that correct, Ms. Slaughter?
That is a correct recitation of my list, Judge.
And to be clear again, those are the ones the state has no objection to admission.
Correct.
All right. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have the exact word that Mr. Scheer used in opening statement. Maybe he does. But he definitely intimated to this jury in opening statement that this family had problems. I can't remember, again, the term that he used, but there was something dark or something sinister or something unknown, that some family secret or something. I don't want to misquote him, but I remember him saying that in opening statement. Relevance is a very low bar, Your Honor. It's just evidence tending to prove that something was true, tending to prove the proposition of something. These photographs, and there were photographs all over this family home, and the state is agreeing to stipulate that these were pictures taken from the family home and that they accurately depict the family, the people involved, the mother, the father, the sister, and of course, Mr. Jackson. And we believe that we have an obligation to respond to the claims made in opening statement that this family had some kind of problem. Obviously, by these pictures, it shows that this family was a family that was very proud of itself as a family and displayed pictures accordingly. It shows that the family interacted, Your Honor. It showed that they did things together. It showed that they were a normal family in that respect. Whether or not there were problems between the defendant and his sister, disagreements that they might have had or whatever, is normal family stuff. And if the state is trying to suggest, I think, that there were these forces behind the scenes in this family, and so we should be able to meet that with the showing that they have all these pictures of themselves together. And so for that reason, Your Honor, we believe they are relevant. I would also note that we would be willing to take out the scouting certificate, even though I think that that's in the record, that he did achieve that, and there was a witness who testified to that. But I don't have any problem taking that one out. And also, even though it's 1 through 148, there were a few duplicates that we did remove, if you want me to list those, because those won't actually be numbers in the list. But even though it's 1 through 148, we did remove 11 of them.
Okay. None of those 11 were ones agreed to by Ms. Slaughter.
No, because they're not in there now. So.
Okay. All right, Ms. Slaughter, back to you. Any further record you wanted to make?
Again, Your Honor, even after having listened to what Mr. Johnston just argued, I still don't see how proving that the defendant was a cute baby when he was born is relevant to any fact and issue in this case. The photographs are cumbersome. 149 photographs or 48 photographs are not necessary to prove what he is attempting to prove. I think that the state is being more than generous with the 22 that we're agreeing to. And for all of the other reasons stated, I'm standing on those reasons for this objection as well, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Well, I mean, in some respects, this is a little bit duplicative, not entirely, but a little bit duplicative to the objection and argument made with respect to the autopsy photos. So, I mean, essentially for the same reasons, I do believe there's some relevance, but, you know, the state whittled down the autopsy photos when they selected the ones to present. You know, I believe 148 pictures is excessive. I will say there's also already video evidence of all the pictures in the house in the record as a result of the body camera video footage. You know, I think, you know, more than a few has limited additional relevance, adds a very little bit, and I think, I mean, Ms. Slaughter alluded to it, that it's just too much, and I think it's kind of confusing, a waste of time, and adds little probative value to the record. So, go ahead.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
That I find it incredible that before you make this ruling, that you are going to let the state select what photos we can use. If you are going to limit the number, then we should have some input into what those pictures are.
Well, I
And
mean,
if you want to give me a number, Your Honor, if you want to give me a number of what you feel is the appropriate number, then I should be able to look at those photos and pick the ones that we want to use.
Well, then go ahead and do that. I mean, these pictures have just shown up today. I mean, neither Hold on. I mean, Ms. Slaughter had said she hadn't seen him before today.
No, we gave her a disc.
Okay, but she didn't know which ones you were planning on offering.
We gave her this disc that are these exact same photos, Your Honor. She's had that disc for a couple of weeks, I would say, and we've had, or probably longer than that, and we can find that out.
Okay, well-
But this is not a surprise. The exhibit preparation it's in a binder. It's not cumbersome at all.
Okay, I get it. Ms. Slaughter, did you want to add something?
I do just want to clear that up, Your Honor. All of the photos that Mr. Johnston did present me, I have seen at the same time that he filed them online. The problem was that they were filed with absolutely no numbering system, and so we have gone back and forth on how to identify the photographs that the state has objected to, but they were provided to me timely, just not labeled.
All right, then that's my misunderstanding. I apologize.
We filed them on January 3rd, Your Honor.
I
on
apologize.
EMS.
So I guess I'm going to just say to both of you, it's frustrating that I'm being, this is being dumped on my lap at the last minute, right? I mean, if the state had an objection, and again, I understand this could have been a numbering issue, again,
I launched that objection, and I've launched it multiple times and asked the defense to provide me the exhibit number so that I could make a formal record. So I have very clearly, for a very long time, said I have objecting to them putting in those exhibits. And
not to me. I don't recall that. So, but regardless, I do think 148 is excessive. So you guys want to whittle it down to, 20 to 25 pictures? That's reasonable. I also do agree with Ms. Slaughter that, why is a baby picture relevant? I don't know, but, I think 148 is excessive, more than necessary to make your point. So, I would ask that you whittle it down to some, again, approximately 25 pictures.
Well, are we going to do that before, I have to offer this exhibit
I
in
understand.
front of the jury, so I'm not going to just,
Well, like I said, I'm as frustrated as everybody else. This is, this was this is the first time that we've dealt with this, at least that I've dealt with this. So you guys may have had discussions about this, but certainly I don't recall addressing an issue with pictures specifically. So what do you need? What do you need?
Can we go off the record, Your Honor?
You may.
Obviously, we're going to have an argument if you're giving us 25 pictures. Right.
I understand, but, again, I think 148 is too much.
yeah, I think 25 is too little, Your Honor. It's a totally arbitrary number on both ends. So I think we have, based on what the state said in opening statement, we can show,
We're off there. My notes reflect that what Mr. Scheer said is that the defendant was going to make it seem like, where is it? Oh, here. He said it's not a perfect family as claimed by the defendant, something along those lines. So, do you have it?
I guess my question is obviously we're going to have an argument if the 25 aren't included in, I don't know how many of these are the solid schedules.
Yeah. If you guys got different 25 or 30, again, 148 is,
I don't have a problem paring it down, Your Honor, some.
all right,
I
well,
don't have a problem taking the baby pictures out. But I do have a problem with the state dictating what our exhibits
I never said that that's the ones, so,
Is 25 a solid number?
if you guys have a good case to be made for a couple more, I'm willing to listen, but I mean, again, 148, and I mean, I looked through them, there's multiples of the same event, the same thing. I think that's all it said. All right, so here's what I suggest we do. Why don't we get Mr. Lyons in here, have him testify, let the jurors go for lunch, because I mean, it's gonna be, by the time he's done, and then, you know, they can come back at 1:30, and we can take up rebuttal, and, before rebuttal, we can, address the exhibits and offer and admit those that we've made a record on. All right? Does that work for the state?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Johnson? Yes, Your Honor. All right, let's get the jury in and take up Mr. Lyons then. And I'll wait till Tyler gets back in. I was mainly talking to myself. Do that, but I don't think we're going to be able. No. Yep, we're ready. All right, go ahead and have a seat. All right. Thanks for your patience, ladies and gentlemen, as we work through a couple things. At this point, I believe we have an additional witness for on behalf of the defendant, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Chris Lyon.
Mr. Lyon, have you come on up and sit over here to my far left, sir. All right, Mr. Lyon, that microphone is on, so you can adjust it however you'd like. And Mr. Lyon, I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Mr. Lyon, do you swear or affirm, sir, that the testimony you'll be giving this morning will be the truth?
I do.
All right. And then just for the record, can you please give us your first and last name and spell them both?
Christopher Lyon, Kristofer Lyon.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Lyon.
Morning.
Could you explain to the jury how you are employed?
I work for the Office of the State Public Defender in Iowa City, and I'm an investigator, and I also work as a digital forensics specialist.
How long have you been working for the Public Defender's Office in Iowa City?
Let's see, since 2018, I believe.
How long have you worked in the public defender system?
Just a year before that, I started.
Okay. And what kind of a job did you hold before that?
I was in law enforcement, a police officer. I worked for West Liberty Police Department.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about your educational background?
Sure. So I have a BA from Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon. Attended the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy, various law enforcement training. And then with the Public Defender's Office, I've had the chance to take a fair amount of digital forensics, computer-related trainings and certifications.
And are some of that training called Detail Records Best Practices for Legal Requests on January of 2020?
Yes.
And that was Hawk Analytics?
Yeah, I've taken some classes from Hawk Analytics, yes.
And what is Hawk Analytics?
They're a private company that they do a lot of work, and they have a online platform related to like cell phone record mapping, like from cell phone companies, tower records, that kind of thing.
And carrier breakdowns, AT&T returns. Again, that's Hawk Analytics from August of 2020?
Yes, yeah, same kind of thing. Understanding records from cell phone carriers.
And would that also be, I see you have Sprint on there as well?
Yes.
T-Mobile, right?
Yes.
And Verizon?
Yes.
And what is this Beyond the Map CDR analysis that was September of 2020?
So CDR analysis is just called detail records. It's an older style of records kept by cell phone companies, just how to look at them, analyze, understand the data.
Are you also a Cellebrite certified operator?
Yeah, I have Cellebrite, so it's a proprietary company that makes software for downloading phones. I've taken a few classes and certifications with them.
So you are a certified Cellebrite operator, correct?
Yes.
And you also are, you've also been trained in the Cellebrite certified physical analyst?
Yeah, Physical Analyzer. It's another software program from Cellebrite.
So I worded that poorly. You are a Cellebrite certified physical analyst, right?
Yeah, sure. I think that's what they call it. They have all these acronyms. I think it's CCPA.
And Cellebrite an Analytics Desktop, you were trained in that in August of 2020, is that right?
Yes.
And Cellebrite Mobile Forensics Fundamentals,
Yes.
also August of 2020, is that right?
Yes.
Would all of this training enable you to examine data from a Cellebrite download?
Yes.
And could you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury exactly what Cellebrite is and what it does?
So there are a few companies that make software programs for downloading as much data as they can from a cell phone, especially in the law enforcement or courtroom context. It's useful to have information from a cell phone. Cellebrite is one of those companies. It's simple from the outside. I mean, it's using exploits, basically bugs in the computer hardware in the phone or software that these companies have discovered that Apple or Android, that the makers of the phones, haven't been able to patch, repair, that allows the companies to bypass the security of the phone, get into them, and then download as much information as they can from the phone.
Well, what kind of data can you get from a Cellebrite download?
So, I mean, it varies a lot by the age of the phone. Usually the newer the phone, the fewer exploits, or at least they haven't been discovered yet. But your average, they call it a phone dump, dumping the information from the phone, can include location information, text messages, social media information, call logs. I mean, there's just a massive amount of information on the phone that you can look at.
And would you be able to look at one of those Celebrite downloads and interpret the data that was on it?
Yes, yeah. That's, the basics of the training are using the Celebrite programs to look through the data that was extracted from phones.
Yesterday, were you asked to look at the Celebrite downloads for the phones belonging to Jan Jackson, Melissa Jackson, and Alexander Jackson?
Yes, yeah.
And who asked you to do that?
You did, sir.
And were you asked to look specifically for the Ring app and anywhere it showed up on any of those phones?
Yes,
And did you do that?
I did.
Were you able to look at with respect to Jan Jackson, who would have been the father, and the father's phone, I think is the way it was referred to in the Celebrite data, were you able to see whether or not the Ring app had been installed on the father's phone?
Yes, the Ring app was installed.
Okay, and were you able to tell when was the last time the Ring app would have been operated or looked at or used in any way on the father's phone?
Yes, I looked at something called the application usage log. In Celebrite, you can, the iPhone in this case recorded the last time and for how long the specific applications were used. So the last time the Ring app was used on the dad's phone is how I had it referred to in the data, was June 13th of 2021. And it was for less than a minute it was active.
Did that correspond to any other event on that phone like a minute earlier?
Yeah, so I was looking at, so Celebrite, someone makes the software and they tell the program how to interpret the data from the phone. It can only interpret what it knows how to interpret. So common applications like your Facebook app, Instagram, Celebrite will know how to decode it because their programmers have told them, okay, take this data from the phone, these are messages, these are images, and then kind of display it in the Celebrite software. Not every application can be interpreted that way just because Celebrite hasn't written their software to interpret every application. So sometimes you have to look at sort of we call it the raw data, more of the files on the phone themselves, rather than Celebrite just kind of nicely handing it to you to look at. So in this case, I looked at some of the database files, which are what applications use to store data associated with them. So I just looked at the database associated with the Ring app. And on the 13th of June 2021 for the dad's phone, there were some screenshots, screen captures of images from some Ring surveillance video cameras. And it was a minute, maybe a little bit over a minute before the app would have been used for the last time.
So it would have been consistent with somebody getting one of those notifications, for example, that there had been motion or the camera had been activated, and then somebody looking at that video.
Right, I can't tell you specifically why those shots were taken. You know, my guess would be that it would be maybe motion activity recorded the images for the screenshot, gave a notification, and then the user manually opened the app. That would be my guess, but I can't tell you why they were taken. They could have been taken manually, various reasons. But
However, they had the camera set up. Is that right?
can you say that again?
However, they had the camera set up.
Right.
But it would be consistent with getting a notification from Ring and then looking at that notification, would it not?
It would make sense to me. It's logical to me that if an image is taken and a minute later we know the application is opened by the user, that, yeah, probably some notification was given.
And I know you don't have it memorized the exact time that these events were occurred, but do you remember, were they in the morning or the afternoon?
On the dad's phone, it was the evening. I think it was 6 o'clock sometime in the evening.
With respect to Melissa Jackson's phone, which would be the mother's phone, did you have an opportunity to look and see when the Ring app First of all, did the Ring app appear on the mom's phone as well?
Yes, I did.
And could you tell by looking at that Celebrite download, when was the last time that Ring app would have been used by the mother?
I believe it was June 12th, 2021, sometime in the morning, somewhere 8 a.m. sometime.
Well, you say, I believe. I know you got the notes written down in your pocket.
Yeah, the exact time I have written down, but yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're clear that you know the exact times of these, and you can take that out of your pocket if you want.
Right, if you want the exact times, I have them written
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 8:53, 24 seconds in the morning on the 12th.
And then, while you got that out there, can you tell what the time was on when the dad accessed the phone, the Ring app?
6:20, 42 p.m.
On the 13th of June.
on the 13th.
Was there any, do you recall any corresponding photograph with that?
No, I don't remember if I didn't look through the database on that phone or if I couldn't find it. But no, I don't remember a photo.
Then with respect to Alexander Jackson's phone, which would have been the brother's phone on the Celebrite download, did you see any evidence at all that the Ring app had ever been installed on his phone?
No.
No what?
No, I did not see evidence that the Ring app was installed.
Ever?
So I looked at the period of June. We kind of narrowed it down to save time. So we looked at June, I believe we looked like June 11th to June 16th, 2021. And in that time period, I didn't see any evidence of anything to do with Ring. So I did a search for the common file names associated with applications, and then no results were returned.
What do you mean by common files associated with the Ring app?
So just like if you on your computer, if you went into program files, you probably wouldn't have a reason to do that, but things aren't named like they are on your home screen of your phone. You know, on your home screen, you might click on Facebook, but in the background that you can't see, things are named like C-O-M, period, Facebook, with a lot of more information after it. So I did several searches for those types of file names to see if there was anything associated with a Ring application.
And you can answer this if you know, but in your experience, is the Ring app typically password protected?
Can you clarify more? Do you mean, like, I believe there's a username to log in generally to access it, but I don't know that you would need to do that once you have initially set it up.
But I mean,
Does
would
that
it
answer your question?
Yes, but the person initially set it up would most likely have a password they'd have to enter to initially set it up.
To initially set it, yes, I believe so, yeah.
And if someone had recently deleted the Ring app, would you have expected to find some evidence of that on the phone?
Yes. So it's kind of a hard question to answer because it's like the absence of evidence is hard to find in digital forensics. You have to, there are different types of downloads, different types of extractions. Generally speaking, if something is recently deleted, you would see some evidence of it, some traces of it, some locations in like the application logs that mention it.
And would you expect, even if it had been deleted, that you would have been able to find where it had been installed?
Yeah, some things like that I would have to specifically test to answer. My assumption would be that it would still show up in installation logs. To give you a definitive answer, I would want to test it.
And how would you go about testing it to get a definitive answer?
So it's kind of a nice thing about digital forensics is that you could go buy the same brand of phone set up the same variables as you have in whatever your question is. So install the same applications, log into the same sites, kind of set it up in the same way. And then if my question is, will something show up in Celebrite if I delete it, I could just delete it, download the phone, and see if that item still shows up. So testing is usually the best way to answer those questions.
But in general, you would expect to see some evidence that the Ring app had been on there.
Generally speaking, if it was recently deleted, yes.
And did you see any evidence of that in Alexander Jackson's phone?
No.
And did you see any apps or programs commonly associated with the Ring app on Alexander Jackson's phone?
I'm not sure I didn't see files associated with it. I'm not sure what another application associated with Ring would be.
I misspoke. But did you see, not apps, but did you see other files commonly associated with Ring that appeared on Alexander Jackson's phone?
No.
Would that also be consistent with the fact that the app had never been installed on Mr. Jackson's phone?
Yes.
Did you also have opportunity to look at any Ring data that was provided to the Cedar Rapids Police Department?
Yes.
And these were some video files?
Yeah, I didn't look at the video files themselves, but when the police serve a search warrant to a technology company like Ring, they usually get a return with data files. So I did look at data files in this case.
And did the data files that you looked at indicate that there had been done anything to the cameras, or did it not indicate anything at all?
There were no logs or anything that showed any, either way, nothing to show any kind of activity. It was just video files.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Cross-examination, Ms. Slaughter?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Lyon, you said that you did a search for common files associated with the Ring app, correct?
Yes.
And by doing a search, you just mean that you went in and did like a keyword search to see if those files would pop up, right?
Right, an advanced, they call it advanced search and, keyword search.
Where did you get the file names, the list of file names that you were keyword searching?
I mean, just experience that, like the com.ring is usually what they're called. And then on the other phones, the other two phones that I looked at, I could see what the file names were used, for that application.
And so you took the file names from the other two phones and keyword searched it for Alexander Jackson's phone?
I mean, sort of. It's not like there's any fancy secret word here. I mean, com.ring, Ring is the name of the company, name of the app, and that was what it was on the other phones. And then, sorry.
No, go ahead. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And then the com prefix is pretty common. So.
And you said that your title is a digital forensic specialist. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But you're not a forensic analyst, right?
That's not my title. I don't know how to answer that.
Well, can you tell us the difference between a forensic analyst and a digital specialist, digital forensic specialist?
Not really. I mean, I picked my title. I kind of started I did start the digital forensics program with the public defender's office in Iowa. So I don't know. I made my title. I could have made it analyst.
But a forensic analyst is an actual thing, right? It's not something that you can just pick.
Forensic, I don't know. It depends on what certifications you have. Like certain organizations list, you have this title now because you've been certified by this organization. But
You said that to confirm whether or not this application was ever on the phone, that you'd want to test it by buying a phone and setting up the same variables on the phone that you're analyzing in the new phone that you would purchase, correct?
Yes.
And wouldn't it be true that those same variables would be the same type of phone, right?
Yes, same model of phone.
The same app,
Yes.
but the operating system or the degree of updates that have happened on the app would also be important, right?
Yes.
So if you set up the Ring doorbell app, you'd want to make sure that you had the same app from 2.5 years ago, right?
To test it?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be ideal, yes.
And same for this iPhone's operating system, right? In order for it to be the same variable, it would need to be the exact same operating system that was running then.
Yeah, ideally, yes.
And you can't go back and download old operating systems on iPhones, correct?
I don't know, you might be able to with a developer account with Apple. I don't know the answer to that.
Now, Mr. Lyon, isn't it true that you cannot say definitively whether or not this app was ever on the phone?
The
Ring app.
Could you tell me which phone?
Well, we know it's on the dad and the mom's phone,
Okay,
correct?
I just want to make sure we were talking about the same thing.
Okay, so we're talking about the son's phone. I think that's how you named it, or how the file was named when you received it, correct?
Okay, yes.
And if the son's phone associates with Alexander Jackson's phone, we're talking about the same phone?
Okay,
Okay.
yes.
Isn't it true that you can't definitively say whether or not the app was ever there or wasn't ever there?
That is correct, yeah.
All you can say without a doubt is that the app was not on the phone at the time that Celebrite downloaded or did the data dump that you referred to, correct?
I think that it's fair to go a little further to say that I also didn't see evidence of a deleted app. Can I say with 100% certainty that the app was, make sure I get the language right. Can I say with 100% certainty that I know there wasn't an app that was never deleted? No, I can't tell you that.
And other than searching for those files that you would have expected to see or that you say you would generally see, there was nothing additional that you did to validate the information that you found in that Celebrite data, correct?
Could you just clarify validate for me?
As a forensic specialist, there are steps to take to validate information that you received, correct?
If you're talking about like verifying image hashes, I do that as a standard practice. So I did that. I didn't do any like external testing or like, if that's the question.
And Mr. Lyon, Mr. Johnston asked you about your experience prior to becoming this self-proclaimed digital forensic specialist. Do you recall that line of questioning?
Objection to the term self-proclaimed, Your Honor.
He said he named himself that, Your Honor.
Objection to rule. Go ahead and answer.
Can you give me more specifics? Like talk about being in law enforcement?
Yes.
Or, okay.
And you said that you were in law enforcement, correct?
Yes.
And you were a police officer for West Liberty Police Department?
Yes.
When you worked for West Liberty Police Department, how long did you work there?
It was part-time, a few months. I was at
What year?
Sorry?
What year?
It was right before I started the public defender's office, so 2017.
I'm sorry, 2017?
2000, might have been 2018. Yeah, I think 2018 sometime. Yeah.
Does that conclude your law enforcement experience prior to working for the public defender's office?
No, I was Chief of Police at University Heights Police Department.
But you didn't name that position originally, correct?
No, I didn't.
And is that because there was a vote of no confidence on you while you worked in that capacity?
No, it was just the most recent experience.
It
I'm happy
wasn't the most recent experience, though, correct? You were fired from the University Heights Police Department in 2018 after a vote of no confidence, correct?
I feel like there's two questions there. That is true. I worked at West Liberty after University Heights Police Department. So West Liberty was the most recent law enforcement experience.
And you said you worked in West Liberty in 2017,
I think I misspoke. I think it was 2018. It was after University Heights.
and you were terminated from University Heights in 2018.
I think so, 2017, 2018. I don't remember the exact date.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Lyon, does that have anything to do with your ability to analyze Celebrite data?
No.
And did you analyze the Celebrite data that was provided from the Cedar Rapids Police Department in this case?
Yes.
And so, in terms of whether the data was valid or not, that data came from the Cedar Rapids Police Department, did it not?
Yes.
When Ms. Slaughter asked you about the test that could determine whether or not the Ring app had been on there definitively, I understand it's your opinion that the app was not on that phone ever, on Mr. Jackson's phone, but to definitively say it, you could do the test like you proposed doing, right?
I think that testing is the best way to give yourself the information about whether or not Celebrite would show a deleted app. If it was deleted long ago, it might never show up. But testing is kind of the best way to determine if something like that would show up in the Celebrite extraction.
So if it had been recently deleted, you would have expected it to see it in the Celebrite download. Is that true?
Yes, generally, yeah.
And if you wanted to make it definitive and do the test, then the best time to have done that test would have been shortly after the download. Would that be true?
Right, if you're concerned about the software updates and versions, you would do it at the time so that you could mirror it as closely as possible.
So when Ms. Slaughter was asking about going back 2 years to do this, if the Cedar Rapids Police Department had done it 2 years ago, then that wouldn't have been a problem, right?
Assuming that the phone had the most current version of the software at the time, yes. Yeah.
So the best time to do the test would have been right after you did the download, right?
Yes.
Then you wouldn't have to worry about how many updates the Ring app had, right?
Yes.
Or the updates on the phone.
Correct.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks.
Recross, Ms. Slaughter?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lyon. You may step down and you are free to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, you may just be wondering where we're at, and I think I can tell you. So, we are going to be done for the morning at this point. We're going to have one more witness, I believe, from the state. I don't believe the defendant has any more witnesses. I think there may be a few more exhibits that will be offered. We'll deal with that right after lunch. Then we'll have a witness from the state. I think at that point, we will let you go for the day. And then, as I indicated, we will, I think we talked about Friday. One of the possibilities was we'd be doing closing arguments Tuesday morning. I think that's where we're going to be at, because there's going to be a couple things that we need to take up and address once all the evidence has been submitted. We'll work on finalizing jury instructions, take up a couple other matters, and then again, just for your scheduling purposes, again, you'll have your normal lunch break now. Asked to be back at 1:15. I'd guess you'll be here no longer than an hour after lunch, plus or minus a little bit, and then let you go early today and ask that you be back here ready to go by 9 o'clock tomorrow, when we'll give you jury instructions and closing arguments. All right, so with that, I'll remind you of the admonition that I've given you and ask that you be back here ready to go by 1:15. Go ahead and have a seat. All right, just for our purposes then, here's what I'm going to suggest we do. Again, this exhibit issue, again, was at least new issue to me. I'm going to go back, think about it, do a little research. I don't know if you guys have pared down your list. Why don't you show it to Ms. Slaughter and we can see where we're at, and then maybe we'll come back here at, say, 1:45 and make a record on the exhibits. Then let me ask you, anything else we need to take up on the record at this point, Mr. Johnson? Ms. Slaughter, Mr. Scheer, anything on the record at this point? No. All right. Just informally off the record, I emailed you those draft jury instructions, a couple typos that I found and corrected. Then I also gave you a case. I don't know if you looked at it, but I think there had been an objection or an issue potentially to voluntary manslaughter. And thinking about this, I mean, there's two types of involuntary manslaughter, right? There's the aggravated misdemeanor and it's classic the felony. The felony involves a public defense of some kind. I mean, no evidence of any sort of public defense. And so, also no evidence of any sort of act on behalf of the defendant. If you look at this case, it talks about not submitting either. I'm just not sure that either alternative of involuntary manslaughter is supported by the evidence. And so I just wanted to have again, informally, wanted to get people's input on that before I make a final decision on my end. I've heard nothing that suggests any sort of public defense by anybody, not much less public defense by the defendant. And again, the evidence didn't submit any sort of reckless act by the defendant either. So what are, I guess, state have thoughts on involuntary manslaughter, or involuntary manslaughter?
We're not going to take a position, Your Honor. If the court doesn't feel that there's a factual basis for it, it wasn't part of our initial request for what instructions would be submitted to the jury. I'm not going to stomp my feet and fight about it. So if you don't think it should be there, I'm fine with that. And if you decide to submit it, I'm not going to fight about it.
Something else, and I don't have any control over that. So if they think that there's a scenario that fits the evidence in this case, that provocation would be part of it, at least with respect to one of the deaths, okay? Not obviously not 3, but you never know what a jury's going to do. So
whatever the jury does has to be supported by substantial evidence.
Oh, well, I'm not saying that this is an argument I'm going to make or anything like that.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm just saying, suppose the jury or some members of the jury think this all started with a fight between the father and the son. And so there's your provocation towards that. I'm not saying that's what we're arguing at all. I'm just saying the jury isn't bound by either side's theory of the case. And if they decide that this happened some other way, where they see that evidence could possibly be there for that, then that's why I'm saying I don't have any way to predict that.
Well, then let me ask, assuming I'm submitting involuntary manslaughter, again, there's two types of involuntary manslaughter. What, are you asking for both?
No,
Which one?
I think you're right, I don't see a public offense in here anywhere. I'm fine with that, I don't.
So you just want the aggravated misdemeanor involuntary manslaughter? Okay. All right. And again, this is just an informal conversation at this point. While we're at it, any other informal comments? That seems to be the big issue, but we can talk about this more after we're done, but real quick, anything else?
Generally, Your Honor, I don't think we have a problem with the court's proposed instructions, except we prefer and I just want to get them on the record with because I only emailed them.
Yep.
The differences with our proposed instructions.
All right.
Which would pertain to the court's instructions 9 and 12.
Ms. Slaughter, any issues informally that you can think of at this point about jury instructions?
No.
All right. Okay, so I'll see you guys at Port Till, and Ms. Slaughter